what we're talking about today is the wearables, right? How to utilize electrostatic, magnetic, and electrical fields to neutralize charges going through our body and to destroy nanotech, to disassemble it. To neutralize the charges, we must be always cognizant of what we're being attacked with. So whether that's a magnetic predominant weapon system or electrostatic predominant weapon system, because whatever you're being attacked with, the opposite is used to neutralize that charge, right? To bring it into a stable state that we refer to as homeostasis or wellness. Okay, so it's not just building an anti-magnetic system or an anti-electrostatic system. It's recognizing when your body is being accessed and what it's being accessed by, and then using the correct countermeasure. That's to balance charges, okay? The bigger idea is to utilize electrical forces and utilizing just very low-level electrical forces to destabilize the nanotech in your body. Ideally, you would be using all three of those: magnetic, electrostatic, electrically, and then the fourth electrical component, which is ground or neutral, effectively. Okay? So because there's various materials that can facilitate a grounding, right? So for example, if you go outside and lay down right now, anyone that's being attacked in long grass that's not, covered in chemtrail particulate, which is, going to be a lot of your guys' places. But even if it is, you'll still feel the effects of grounding yourself, right, to some degree. It might not be that effective, but it will be somewhat effective. All right, that's a feeling, right? As is being interacted with magnetic energies. Magnetic energies, I usually tell people, are slower than electrostatic. They're less rapid vibration and more of a very slow pulse, okay? Electrostatic, pretty easy to tell. It's usually when you're getting attacked at night. It's like a rapid vibration, a rapid fluttering. Usually it's focused on your chest cavity. It's just aiming for the most space possible. When those two forces are combined in equal proportions, the attack becomes electric. That's currently what I've been experiencing now for, 4 or 5 months. Once I started speaking openly about this stuff accurately, these people that do these things get worried. They started mixing these weapons together in real time, and I've been dealing with the electric attacks. So the attacks I get aren't the exact same that the attacks that the majority of you get anymore, although sometimes they will go magnetic predominant or electrostatic predominant. Most often they're using an electrical attack. Just to put that in mind, because before I figured out how to deal with the electric, I was mating or dealing with the electrostatic and the magnetic charges because I learned how they felt, all right? So before we get into the new thing I want to teach about wearables and how to make yours better, I think I'll just cover that really quick, is the basic of it. And you just heard me say it, I'll say it again. There are 4 main energies of this world, right? Imagine, right? There's this thing that's called the ether. And you could think this is woo-woo. It doesn't matter. It's real. It's out there. Who cares? It's like a water that you can't see, right? You can't see it. You can't feel it because you're always swimming in it. You're the fish in the bowl, right? Or the ocean. It's so deep down that you never see the outside of it. And like the outside of it would be like heaven and hell or whatever mystical, magical place that, and I'm not saying heaven and hell aren't real. I'm just saying whatever place outside of this dimension in which we operate. The ether goes all the way to those realms and then probably into those realms in different proportions, but I wouldn't know. Anyways, you're the fish in the ocean, swimming in the ether, not knowing that you're swimming in water because it's always there. It's always prevalent around you, right? Just think about that for a second. The water has different pressure. The ether has different pressure gradients, right? In a compressed form, the ether, the water, the living water is what the various religions call the ether. But when that substrate is compressed, the ether, we call that an electrostatic field. When it's expanded, we call that a magnetic field. All right, so it's hot and cold, right? It's easy to think about like that. Hot, expansive, explosive, magnetic. Cold, compressional. Did I say that right? Electrostatic is cold, compressional, implosive. So one is going in, the other one's going out. And like, just for example, you can see this on the surface of a pond. These same tensions form, right? Or you can see them form in literally anything. This compression and tension, or expansion and compression, or hot and cold, or it's not up and down. I get a little bit ahead of myself there. But it's magnetic and electrostatic. And then right in between those two forces is what we would call neutral, or the plane of inertia. But we'll just call it neutral here. So electrostatic is compressed, magnetic is expanded, right in between it is neutral, whatever system you're talking about. In air, we would say expanded is hot, cold is compressed, and neutral would be room temperature, or the weather, the temperature outside. Because you know, like, well, see, that's a whole other thing I'm not going to get into. The mix of those two forces in a synergistic fashion, meaning these two fields interacting together, present at the same time in a cohesive manner, is electricity. That's all electricity is. It's when the magnetic energy is at its lowest, the electrostatic is at its highest, right? And when the electrostatic is at its lowest, the magnetic is at its highest. And it's fluctuating back and forth in this rhythmic vibration, all right? That's how electricity works. That's also how, like, if you were to take a diaphragm, right? Like, you guys know what a diaphragm is. Just like a material plane made taut, flat. And you were to take that and you were to pull it back. On one side, you would have a tensive or a tension field. On the other side, you would have a compression field. Okay? That's maybe too much. While it's at stable state, you would call that would be neutral. All right? That's the pressure of the ether. It's always compressing, expanding. We're always breathing in and breathing out. Like we also use magnetic and electrostatic forces at all levels of life to function. The reason I'm bringing this up is because when you're being attacked with directed energy weapons, it's either electrostatic predominant, magnetic predominant, or I should say this in the right order. The number one most prevalent type of attack you'll experience as a survivor is magnetic weapons. The number two is electrostatic weapons. The number three is electric weapons. The reason they don't use electric weapons is it's very hard to, it takes a lot of manpower, resources, and proximity to be able to utilize those weapons. Right? And I imagine since they're doing it to me now, they'll be doing it to a lot of other people pretty soon, because that's how these things work. They do it to the people they most hate or they most want to die first, and then they move on and do it to everyone else. And that's how all these things go. So you've got magnetic, number one, electrostatic, number two, electric, the combination of the two working in synergy. And number four, so that was number three, was electric. Number four is grounding or neutral, which is when these two, the magnetic and electrostatic, mate each other and everything goes back to a static or stable state, which is a non-kinetic, a state of rest, okay? And there's a little bit more I could talk about that. So visually, what are magnetic forces when we see them in our environment? They're explosive. And if we're using that same visual representation, that explosive, or the electrostatic version of explosive, is implosive. So the difference between a building blowing up and a building falling in on itself, right? If we were to use that same idea and try to represent electrical, what we'd see is the A-bomb. It would have both the massive explosion and the sucking up, because it makes the mushroom, explodes, makes the mushroom cloud, and then emits the ring. That's the whole electric effect seen over a long period of time It's in a very short period of time. In a very short period of time, we use it to power lights, electronics, whatever. In a very large period of time like that, it could be potentially very destructive. Not always, but that's what we're seeing. Again, the A-bomb drops, creates the explosion, right? The explosion gets sucked back into itself in the mushroom cloud. The mushroom cloud is the electrostatic reaction to the big magnetic explosion, electrostatic implosion. Then the ring gets emitted. The ring is the after effects of the electrostatic force, but also the completion of the electric cycle. Okay? And I guess, being ground would be the afterwards. After the A-bomb goes off, everything's still nice and calm. That's the ground or the neutral or the room temperature, so to speak. If we're talking about temperature with this, again, have you heard me say it a few times? Magnetic is hot because like a gas cloud, when it gets hot, any sort of air, water, whatever it may be, it's always expanding the space between itself. Okay? There's a point in this. I swear to God, there's a point in this. I shouldn't swear to God. I swear there's a point. It's worth your time. When a liquid or something, whatever it is cold, it's literally contracting. The space between the material that makes it up is literally lessening. All right, so hot is expanding, cold it's compressing, and so forth. If we were used to that idea for the electric, say like water again, hot becoming steam, cold becoming ice, the electric version of water would be like the bubbles that form in the boiling water. That's literally it going from a electrostatic state to a much more magnetic state rapidly. And the bubbles that we're watching form in the water is that electrical, magnetic and electrostatic synergy. Okay? And then the ground of the water idea would be, again, some stable room temperature sort of thing. In a mechanical system, I've already said that a few times, expansive, compression, whatever. I'm not going to go over that again. So why is this important? Again, it's only these three energies that you're being attacked with. They're not attacking you with ground, as far as I know. Neutral. How would that benefit them? They're attacking you with the force that would help neutralize these charges they're sending your way. They're attacking you either with magnetic preponderance, an electrostatic preponderance, or a mix of the two, electric. That's it. Okay? So if it's magnetic, use electrostatic. What does magnetic feel like? It feels like what the majority of you are feeling right now. It's a slow, very slow effect. You will feel pressure that will be incredible, but it's very slow and it can be very hot. Okay? Electrostatic is when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're vibrating. That's the other side. Okay? When you deal with magnetic weapons, so always start with thinking about your attacks as being magnetic and using electrostatic wearables, right? So wearables that generate electrostatic fields. And I'll get into that in a second. Always assume that first. But when you make those charges, those magnetic charges efficiently, then they'll start pulsing you with electrostatic weapons. And then the wearables that are creating the electrostatic field will only aid in their electrostatic weapons. When I figured this out the first time, it was a eureka moment. It was like, oh, of course, right? I had been only thinking that they could utilize magnetic weapons. So I'd put on all these these electrostatic fields. And then eventually I was being attacked and I took them off and I was like, this is relief. They've been attacking me with electrostatic weapons intermittently during this whole time. And now I know that there's always going to be this balance. So I started building wearables that would deal with both the magnetic and electrostatic. And when I did that effectively, that's when they started attacking me with electric weapons, which has currently been the case now, again, for 4 or 5 something months. Doesn't matter, a long time. So it's always those three energies, and it's usually predominantly magnetic, which is what most of you are experiencing right now. To make the anti-magnetic effect, you're making electrostatic effect, right? Anti-magnetic is more or less electrostatic.
Tweet, 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 tweet.